Hey, how's it going everyone? I am the one and only Count Jinsula, and in today's video, I'll be discussing why Niantic should keep all of the pandemic bonuses in Pokémon GO. This has been a major topic of debate as of late, especially with the recent announcement that Community Days will be returning to 3 hours. Every time Niantic decides to remove a pandemic bonus like this, there is a huge wave of backlash from the Pokémon GO community. I want to explore why this is the case in this video, as well as give the argument as to why Niantic should keep these bonuses. Right, so with that said, let's roll the intro and get right into it. Okay, so before we dive into it, we should first recap on what these pandemic bonuses are and why players want them to stay. Back in 2020, when the world started experiencing long extended lockdowns and quarantines, Niantic made several temporary changes to Pokémon GO so that it would be playable from home. These changes include massive bonuses to incense, receiving more items from gifts, increased distance for interacting with Pokéstops and gyms, the introduction of the remote raid pass, and increasing the duration of community days to 6 hours. Of course, these are just a few notable examples out of many bonuses and changes Niantic implemented as a response to the worldwide pandemic. Now, fast forward to the end of 2021, and with the pandemic starting to wind down all across the world, Niantic inevitably began rolling back these bonuses one by one. Their reasoning for this is that they wanted to realign Pokémon GO to be more about outdoor play and exploration once again. Now, on the surface, I can totally understand Niantic's reasoning here. Pokémon GO fundamentally has always been about exploration, and the core design has never involved complete at-home play. But once these pandemic bonuses were introduced, the game became something almost completely different from its original design, and I can understand why Niantic would want to shift the game back to its core identity. However, here is where I think Niantic is out of touch with their community. First and foremost, most of these bonuses were actually quality of life improvements that players wanted for Pokémon GO even before the pandemic forced everyone to play at home. Whether it be improvements to incense, the capability to raid remotely with your friends, or the freedom of a 6-hour duration for community days, players have wanted certain changes to happen to Pokémon GO's gameplay for a long time now, and the bonuses brought them. It was kind of an unintentional side effect of the pandemic that Pokémon GO saw vast improvements to its core gameplay. Even if you are outdoors and exploring, much of these bonuses drastically boosted your gameplay to the point where it didn't feel redundant. It seems like Niantic didn't realize this as they began rolling back these pandemic bonuses. It might be the case where they truly believed their game was fine and didn't need improvements in these areas. They need to realize that for the game to go back to how things were before the pandemic would be a huge step backwards for the gameplay as a whole. Now, another area where I think Niantic has been completely out of touch with their community is in relation to the disabled players. One thing that cannot be understated regarding these pandemic bonuses was just how much more accessible they made the game become for disabled Pokémon GO players. One of the most notable examples of this was the increased interaction distance for stops and gyms. Not only did this prevent more cases of trespassing and unsafe play, but it allowed many players with disabilities to have access to more points of interest. Fortunately, this one bonus managed to stay in the game as a permanent feature after much campaigning from the Pokémon GO community. But it doesn't end there. The current discussion around accessibility is of course with community day durations being 6 hours rather than 3. This bonus allowed disabled players to have more time to get shinies and candies during these events. On top of that, the increased duration also allowed players who work on the weekends to have access to this event. as the longer event times meant that they still had an opportunity to play even if they were busy during some of it. These are things that Niantic seems to be fully unaware of, as their latest developer diary post regarding this bonus seems to indicate that they look at engagement metrics more than actual community sentiments. Look, at the end of the day, Niantic doesn't seem to comprehend just how much better these pandemic bonuses made their game. Pokemon Go without these bonuses felt much less streamlined, and the gameplay seemingly evolved once these bonuses became a part of it. Here's the deal, Niantic needs to realize that players have gotten used to these bonuses over the past couple of years. They've become the new norm, so to speak. For them to remove these bonuses would be jarring to the average player, and the gameplay experience would feel like it regressed 100-fold. Instead of slowly removing these bonuses for the sake of promoting outdoor gameplay and exploration, what Niantic should do is build upon these bonuses with new gameplay mechanics that would encourage players to step outside and explore. If Niantic's aim is to make Pokemon Go fully about exploration, then they should reward players for exploring rather than punishing them for choosing not to explore. There's plenty of ways they can achieve this without breaking the game's balance. One example that I see get thrown around is having slightly better rewards for players who are on location for a raid battle. Earlier this year, Niantic dabbled with this thought process by adding Rare Candy XL to raid rewards during the Johto Tour event. The caveat was that in order to get these items, you needed to be physically present at the raid, and you wouldn't get them if you joined remotely. Another example would be to give players a hefty bonus for spinning several new Pokéstops and gyms within a given day. Maybe if you raid or attack gyms on location a certain number of times over the course of the day, you will be given a small reward. Add daily tasks like this so that those who spend a day exploring new areas feel rewarded for doing so. And finally, this is probably the most intriguing example, but Niantic should consider keeping the pandemic bonuses, but give players the option to toggle them on or off. Much like previous examples, this option could be tied to the reward structure offered by this game. If you choose to toggle off these bonuses, then you are subject to better rewards, but the option is there for players who want them. I just think it's a better idea overall to give players more choice in their gameplay. Rather than removing these bonuses, I think this approach would be much more effective at achieving their goal of exploration-based gameplay. Reward players for playing the game the way you want them to, without punishing them by removing the mechanics that goes against it. At the end of the day, Niantic is going to choose to remove or keep whatever pandemic bonuses that they see fit. No matter how many Hear Us Niantic movements the Pokemon GO community engages in, ultimately it's going to be up to them on what kind of game experience they want to give us. I really do hope Niantic considers whatever feedback the community provides, and if any of their decisions causes a backlash, then I really want them to reconsider those decisions. I think the potential is definitely there for us as players to have a profoundly good gameplay experience with or without these bonuses. I just think the healthiest and likely the more well-received path Niantic should take is to keep these bonuses and build upon them. We'll just have to wait and see what they end up doing. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this discussion. Again, I do think there are a lot of things Niantic could do in this situation, but at the very least, they should listen to their community. So that's where you come in. Leave your thoughts on these bonuses and how Niantic has handled them down below in the comments. Let's have a great discussion, and hopefully we can throw around some great ideas that Niantic could implement. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And don't forget that little bell so you stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support this channel in any way, then do consider checking out the links in the description below. But yeah, that's going to be it. Once again, I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I will catch you all later.